The Richard Sherman podcast on PFF is brought to you by Super Draft Fantasy. They created a fantasy game for all of us. To all my PFF community, listen up. Player props are now available, and you can win up to 20 times your entry. Put your parlays together for all kinds of sports. I'm taking it to another level. I want to hook you up when you play. Double your deposit now. Get a $10 bonus when you deposit 10 using the code PFF at registration. Just download Super Draft and start playing now. They're even hooking you up with a free PFF Elite for a month or half of your annual subscription. Just download the Super Draft app on the App or Play Store. Use the code PFF when you create an account. Deposit $10, and we'll match it with another $10. The offer is only eligible for new accounts. Super Draft paid fantasy contests are available in 34 U.S. states. Must be 18 or older to play. Contests in most states. Visit superdraft.io for all eligibility restrictions.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. Don't you ever talk about me. Picked off. It is Richard Sherman. It's picked off by Sherman. Now, buckle up. Here he goes. And it is intercepted by Richard Sherman. Broken up. Picked off. This game is over.
All right, guys. Welcome. This is a different episode of the Richard Sherman podcast. I got my boy Mitch Eisenstein in person. It's different. Mitchell, how you doing?
Dude, it's different is right, Rich. Here we are, new day. Richard, we've got something special for the guests today. I'm going to let you kickstart this thing because this is, I think, a little bit of one of a kind. We've seen a lot of guys reveal jerseys over the years, but I don't know if anyone's got a collection quite like yours.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to showing you guys everything I got. So, yeah, this is going to be me showing my jersey collection. Arian Foster had a really good collection, but I feel like I have a ton of memories, a ton of jerseys, and a ton of cool players that you guys would appreciate seeing. So if you're coming here looking for new football updates of your favorite team or what's happening with your favorite player or the draft pick, that's not this episode. This is our last episode before the summer, a little different. We're going to show these jerseys, talk about these stories. So enjoy. Mitchell.
Richard, I'm sitting here with you and I am blown away. I mean, there's probably 200 jerseys that you've got. This is a lot about your career. Obviously, you're well respected throughout the league. So let's just jump right into it.
Well, the first jersey I'm going to go with is a teammate of mine with the San Francisco 49ers, former rival, I guess, with the Washington Redskins when we played.
Rich, there are a lot of offensive linemen, but there's not many that have legitimate highlight reels. I mean, Trent Williams can bulldoze guys. But, Richard, outside of you being teammates with him and outside of him being PFF's #1 offensive tackle last year and probably the year before and the year before that, you guys have some unique history stemming back to when you played with the Seahawks, when you guys were the Young Bucks, Legion of Boom. And walk through what happened after you sent the Redskins packing.
Well, we as the Seattle Seahawks, very early on in our youth, sent the Washington Redskins, formerly Washington Redskins,
sure,
and now Commanders, formerly the football team. We played a really good game. RG3 gave us all that we could handle, but Marshawn and Russell and our defense sent them home. Kyle Shanahan led offense. Did a great job. And during the game, there was a few back and forths between Trent and I and Chris Clemens and a few other guys. And Trent apparently took exception. And, after the game, it was time to shake hands and everything. And he continued to take exception. And the rest is history, as I say. But we had a conversation right after that, consequently, a text and phone conversation. And cooler minds prevailed, and we've been friends ever since. But, the clip still lives.
Well, for those that haven't seen the clip, it's a unique one, and you definitely should take a look. Trent Williams approaches you in the handshake line and says, Richard, I'm going to smack you across the face, or I'm going to hit you. And you said, we'll do it then. Any tough guy, that's a solid response, but Trent just happened to do it. Well, what was it like getting smacked by a 320-pound left tackle?
Well, Mitch, when, in the midst of all the adrenaline pumping up the football game, it's not as bad. I'm sure if you would have caught me on a regular Tuesday out with my family, it would have been a different feeling. But, when your adrenaline's going and you're in a crazed mindset of a football field, it's still between the lines. I felt like I handled it great. I felt like, I didn't really feel much. I got up, I turned back and was like, hey, what's up? But we had to play the next week, so I couldn't risk getting suspended or anything like that. But that was good times. That's the first jersey. So the next jersey is going to be two. It's going to be two of my former teammates, Earl V. Thomas III and Mr. Bam Bam Chancellor. You know, I had to show his Pro Bowl jersey because they never gave him enough love. Like, should have been all-decade team. Y'all got it wrong.
They sure did, Rich. I mean, this is the core Legion of Boom. Earl Thomas and Bam Bam Cam Chancellor. Talk about both of those guys. Talk about what they meant to you and your career.
Well, I mean, they both were generational talents. Obviously, their play spoke for itself. Earl, incredible range, incredible instincts, played really hard, really fast, dynamic in every, you know, obviously they knew coming out of Texas, they took him before, you know, Pete took him before his guy.
Yeah,
his SC
Taylor
guy,
Mays,
Taylor
right?
Mays.
Yeah.
And he really showed up from day one that he was going to be an elite talent. And he really, day in and day out, put the work in. You know, I don't know of anybody that worked or practiced harder than Earl, that prepared harder or better than Earl. He really takes his time. He takes it serious. He works hard every single day. He puts it on tape every single day. If you looked at a practice from week 6 or training camp or off season, it'll really look the same for Earl Thomas III. And that was what I think really set the tone a lot of times for our defense, because you have to match that energy. You have to match that tone. You have to match that approach every day. And that's what we did. Cam was obviously an incredible player. He did a great job of getting us lined up and prepared and knowing the plays. I mean, Cam's calling out the play almost every play. He's getting the defense lined. If somebody makes a mistake within a play, Cam is getting there, correcting it. Like, hey, you know, you guys, it's going to sound crazy, but if you got 1, 2, 3 gaps on the line, I'm going to make it that simple, and a D lineman's supposed to be in the 1 gap and he's in the 2 gap, Cam would say, hey, he was supposed to be in the 2 gap. He's in the 1 gap. I'm going to go fill the 1 gap to make sure that we're all buttoned up. And these are things that you won't notice when you're watching the tape or you're watching the game. You're just like, oh, that's a great tackle by Cam, or this is a great play, or look, they got him stopped. But there were so many plays where he allowed the rest of the guys to play free, you know, and thoughtless, and he would clean it up, whether it was in the run game, the pass game, and just the leadership that he brought, you know, and
being a high school quarterback, I mean, I was a quarterback of your defense, and people that haven't been around Cam, like, there's a lot of, you know, Joe Schmoes on the street say, oh, I could run a route against these guys. I dare you to go take a look at Cam Chancellor, because that guy is way, way bigger than people expect. Right.
And that's why I wanted to save the hitting aspect of it for last, for both of them. You know, both of them could go thump with the best of them. Earl, you know, the iconic play, I think, for Earl, at least in my mind, was when he made the tackle in the NFC Championship game against the Green Bay Packers, and he had just torn his rotator cuff. Went in for x-rays. They put him in this big brace, the sling, and they gave it to Starks on something. And Earl comes out in the middle field, full speed, and strikes. And we're losing this game, you know, but it's fourth quarter with 10 minutes to go, and we're going to give it all we got to the end. And he threw his injured shoulder in there with no regard. And that's just the kind of selfless teammate and player that he was. And of course, that Super Bowl, Cam goes on to get injured his MCL in practice the day before the Super Bowl, and it was great too. And soldiered his way through that and still played an outstanding game in a game that's a 6 to 8 week injury, and he's playing the next day. And he almost took you out in the process. Right. Then he tore my elbow, Cam. We still got a little beef about that. He still owes me a few more dinners. But those are two of the best players to ever play. Personal story about Earl, just from your wedding. You know, it's like Richard got married down in the Dominican, all-inclusive, fancy-dancy. Floyd Mayweather's there. The red carpets are rolled out, everyone you can imagine. And everyone's having a great time, right? I mean, we had a hell of a time. You know, people are doing what you would expect at an all-inclusive resort. Earl Thomas wakes up every single morning at 6 a.m. He's working out, busting his ass for an hour and a half, hitting the sauna. I mean, this is after being up well past midnight, you know, and that just shows you the work ethic these guys have and that mentality. And then on the Cam front, I'll never forget the offseason that you bulked up to 225. And your response was, I've been hitting the weights with Cam. So, yeah, 220. You put a little weight on that. You put a little too much weight on that. Not quite 225, Mitchell, but, you know, this is what good friends do. They hype you up, pump you up. So these are some of the jerseys. We're going a little too slow right now. So our next jersey, Shady Mccoy in Philly. He crossed me over one time. I had to get the jersey after that. He had some of the most dynamic moves and jukes and vision for a running back at the time. And it was really cool to compete against him and get that jersey. My boy D-Jack, I got him with the Washington Redskins. Could have got him with Philly or Tampa, but we grew up together since kids. Grew up playing on the same little league team. Knew he was going to be something. Was always faster than everybody else. Still faster than everybody, which is crazy. Yeah, if you need a deep ball threat, Deshaun Jackson is still that guy. Still that guy.
This one's near and dear to my heart, Rich.
Detroit's own favorite son.
They got him out of town way too early, along with Barry Sanders at the age of 30. But who's to blame?
Detroit. The Lions are to blame. The Ford family, or whoever was in charge at the time. But one of the best, honestly, arguably the best player I've ever played against, ever lined up against. Your hands are beyond full the entire game when dealing with him, because not only can he give you a long day and score points and do all that, but it's going to be, it might likely be an embarrassing play that's going to live on the internet forever. Because he's 6'5" and change, 230 and some change, running 4.2, 4.3. Like these sound like video game numbers, and it's like, oh, look at that. But to have to guard that human being, and then to say, hey, they're going to throw it up, and usually people triple team it, and he still makes the catch. But we're just going to have you guard. We're just going to have you guard him, and then we'll deal with everybody else. And he was such an incredible player that they tried to vice, like a punt return vice defense.
The Saints did.
Yeah, on the goal line, in the red zone. They would vice him. And our coaches that week showed us that on tape, me and Brandon Browner. They showed us that on tape and was like, hey, we're going to try to work this in. And we were like, well, y'all take both of us off the field when y'all do that. Because y'all not going to – if I can't handle him on my own, then I don't need to be out there. Like, if y'all got to do that, then don't put me – I don't want to be a part of that. That's embarrassing, and that's shameful. Like, he's a great player. I give him all the credit in the world. But, look, he got to score on me. You got to score on me to show me.
You guys got the last laugh, though. I mean, let's not forget when he was about to roll in the end zone and good old Bam Bam knocked that football out about the quarter-inch yard line.
No question.
And then KJ and the refs just casually forgot the rule that you're not allowed to bounce.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
Forget. You're supposed to forget things like that. The game was won. It was in hand. I appreciate you guys. That's actually from that game.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the jersey from that game. Man. That jersey's from that game where Bam Bam punched it out. Appreciate you. Megatron, it was great competing against you. One of my favorite teammates, one of my favorite guys, my brother, Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, all that. Oakland's finest son, town business. One of the best football players that'll never get enough credit for what he was able to do. Dominant. Never gets enough credit for our Super Bowl runs and his part in it. You know, he was one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the league at the time.
Run the damn football, Rich, at the goal line.
What he said.
I'm going to say it for you just because I know, whatever. But if you run that football in that position 4 times, I mean, you watch Man in the Arena.
We would have had
Vince Wilfork. Vince Wilfork says on the Man in the Arena, Tom Brady's episode, if I'm the Seattle Seahawks, I'm running that ball 4 times. This is the nose tackle of the opposing team. So you know that Marshawn had a tremendous amount of respect in that league. I also love Marshawn from the standpoint of your celebrity softball game. You said, Mitch, this guy marches to the beat of his own drum. We're all enjoying ourselves after the game at a nice local bar. He comes in, dances for literally 1 song, goes crazy, and leaves. And that is the 2-minute appearance that Marshawn made at your celebrity softball game function. Yeah. So,
and you got to remember the appearance that he made at the game.
Yeah.
And Marshawn decides to come at the 11th hour of the game. The game's almost over. It's in hand. There's a runner on third with the winning or tying run on third and somebody up to bat. Marshawn decides to come in and make his first appearance to be the pitch runner on third, to be the guy who runs in the winning run. After not being there the whole game, but he shows up. He shows up every time. That's just my brother, and he is the most selfless person in the world. As a giver, and now he's the co-owner of the Kraken, First, one of the only black professional team owners in all of sports. Give him his love.
I want to see him out there for one shift and one shift only. Just give the guy 60 seconds on the ice. Let's see what he can do.
Well, Cedric the Entertainer said it best. You know, he'd be one of those rolling around with no stick. You know what I mean? He's not even going to have a stick in hand. He's just out there for chaos.
This next one I know is an emotional one. It's a tough one, but talk about this jersey here.
Well, the Demaryius Thomas jersey, you know, it's tough because it's one of those, you know, guys. Football is such a brotherhood, and you know, you say that, but there's such an understanding of the heartache and the stress and the strain and the sacrifice that it takes to make it to the National Football League. So to lose a person who you competed against, who you were friends with, who you had conversations, you know what I mean? There's some players you obviously play and you just play them. You know, your relationship doesn't ever, you know, go past what you did on the field. Like, hey, we're competitors, that's it. And then there's teammates and friends and even adversaries and competitors and guys you play against that you end up meeting off the field and being friends and you know, hanging out with their family and meeting their wives and meeting their kids. And he was one of those guys, man. He's just had a great heart. He's a great person. He's very soft-spoken, and you just hate everything that's happened. You know, obviously, haven't got a really incredible angel, but society and the world lost a really incredible person and a person that really brought a light to this world, and I appreciated ever getting to know him.
Absolutely. Rich, we got Dez Bryant next.
Yeah, we got Dez. Dez is another career that ended too soon, and you know, that's not here nor there. I'm not Dallas Cowboys. I'm not Jerry Jones. I don't understand what happened. But one of the most talented players I've ever played against, incredible with the ball and just a competitor, like always trying to get it, always trying to, like, I don't remember him, you know, even when he was having his tirades and going crazy, he was just trying to win. Like, that's what you want on a football team. You want a guy that wants to win. You want a guy that's looking to go out there and help his team as best he can. And that's who he was all the time. And I really appreciated that about him. He's a great human being. Now he's in the NFTs. He's leading the NFT space. But I'll never forget there was a third and it might have been a 1st and 10 or 2nd and 10. And I was following him around and he was running a fade ball, and I knew he was running a fade ball, but I was like, we were like 8 yards down the field. So I'm like, it's not that early. You're not getting the ball that early. And next thing you know, I just feel him rising up. And I'm like, he's 9 yards down the field, but he's up there. And I'm like, well, it's too late for me to jump. I just got to watch this one. And I watched, and he's at like 10 yards in the air. Grab, come down. I said, who is this? What is this? Like,
you just took a moment to admire.
I had to appreciate it because I was like, there's no way they're making this pass, and they made it. And then you're like, there's no way he's going up there and get it, and he's doing it. And I'm like, all right, come on down. And I'll respect. I'm going to punch that ball, and then we get you down. I'm going to put that in the notebook.
Let's not forget, he changed the game, too, forever, Rich. He finally allowed the NFL to truly realize what a catch was and what a catch wasn't. So thanks, Dez.
Thanks, Dez. I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't appreciate your contribution.
Throw up the X for you, man.
Gotta throw up the X.
All right, this next one, he's taken the league by storm over the last couple of years. Stefan Diggs, talk about him.
Well, he didn't take it by storm when you didn't play it against him. Yeah, like he didn't surprise me. Just like Tyreek Hill didn't surprise me. Like, that's the difference about playing corner in the National Football League. There are fans out there, you'll go against guys and they'll be like, oh man, like you got beat by that's nobody. Like, no. There's no nobodies in the National Football League. There are the players you know about and that are big names and the players you're going to find out about. There's no nobodies. Like, everybody can do it in the National Football League. That's how they got there. They were the man somewhere. They were the man for the high school, college, and they have the ability to go take over at any time. So when he was in Minnesota, he was really a great route runner. And now he's a focal point so much in Buffalo that people are finally getting to appreciate everything he was doing in Minnesota. But he was doing the same thing in Minnesota.
You put a run game behind that Buffalo line, and all of a sudden they might be Super Bowl favorites this year with Stefan Diggs and everything else they got going.
I mean, if you got the overtime rules from this year, they might be, but that's the story for them.
A friend of the program and a former teammate, Leonard Fournette. Talk about his game, man. Playoff Lenny.
Playoff Lenny, Louisiana's very own favorite son. He is a character, man. He is one of the best running backs in LSU history. You'll never forget the time where he had 17 carries for almost 300 yards or something crazy. But a great guy, a fun personality, a fun human being. I love being on his team this year. A workhorse, a guy who really wants to be there for his teammates. A guy that never gets off his phone and is FaceTiming constantly. Like I've never seen somebody like FaceTime as much as he does. But he's a fantastic teammate and a fantastic player, and I enjoyed every second of being his teammate.
Richard, I don't think a whole lot of people know Julio Jones' real name, but I know you do.
Yeah, Quintorris Julio Jones. This was what I considered one of my ultimate rivals. At the time I played, we were drafted together in 2011. We had a battle in the playoffs of 2012 that was pretty epic. We had a battle, and we had a couple battles, but there was always an enormous amount of respect for one another. And again, just those conversations we had and being able to be together and know that hey, you're about to go against a great player. I'm about to go against a great player. We're going to see who comes out on top. And he doesn't do a lot of talking. He's like guarding a horse. He's like guarding a thoroughbred horse. Like, you're not going to be able to get in his way and stop him from going where he's going. You're not going to be really able to stop when he stops or turn when he turns. You just have to find a way to grab the reins and go when he goes, as best you can. And I really enjoyed the challenge because you knew when he's coming in, he's getting the ball. He ran his route so hard that's why his feet were always broken. And he always has Liz Frank. He has this, he has that, because of how hard he ran the routes and how hard he stopped.
He's probably the closest thing to Megatron Calvin Johnson. Who do you think has the upper hand between Julio and Calvin? At least from your opinion, playing against them.
Well, it just depends on the day. Like Calvin could go for 300. Julio didn't win for 300.
Right. They're both triple crown winning thoroughbred horses that you're going to have to deal with.
You're going to have to deal with. I guarantee you there's not many people signing up saying, baby, if you can choose between Julio and Megatron, they're going to be like, well, what's the other choice? What's the third choice? I might need to.
I'm sick. I
need there's multiple. Give me three.
Richard, this next one, former teammate. Obviously, you guys have had a long history of playing together and winning a championship together. Talk about Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it should have been a championship, but that's a story for a different day. Russell Wilson, this came from the game when we played against them the first, this might have been the second time, the first time in San Francisco in 19. The Sunday, it was a Thursday night or Sunday. But a great competitor, a guy who came in, worked hard, didn't say much, just came to work and got to work. And that's what you appreciated about him. He really bought into Pete's philosophy of compete. He was the right man for the job at the right time. He didn't need to shine. He did exactly what they needed him to do. He took care of the football. He controlled the run game. We ran it. He ran it when he needed to. And they leaned on the defense as much as we could, and we were able to get to 2 Super Bowls, and he's able to blossom into a 9-time Pro Bowl career, and now he's on to Denver, and they have high expectations right now, but we'll never forget those moments as a teammate, as being able to go through those battles and have those games. We had a lot of close games, a lot of hard-fought games where guys had to play well down the stretch. And some of the plays that he and Jermaine Kearse and Doug made offensively, obviously with Marshawn and the rest of them, were unbelievable. And we wouldn't have won those games without him.
Richard, this next one, you mentioned him, former teammate at Stanford, former roommate.
My son.
Fellow lover of Jim Harbaugh, Doug Baldwin.
My son right here. This is this guy. I've known him way too long in my life. In his life, he would say, I'm sure. Doug Baldwin, a great human being, a great father now of 2 beautiful girls. I've known him since he was a freshman in college. So that's going on. What are we in now? That was 2007. We're in 22. So it's 15 some odd years. We were teammates for 11 of them. And there's, a guy, he's so selfless. He's selfless. He's hardworking. He makes no excuses. He's dynamic. He's aggressive, and he's relentless. He's relentless in the way he prepares. He's relentless in the way he attacks. He's relentless in the way that he does not use any excuses or any like, oh, he's too short. He can't do this. He can't do. There's nothing he can't do. Oh, you want him to be a big receiver and go jump balls? His senior year, he jump balling with the best of them. I mean, even in Seattle, he could be a fade ball receiver. He can run slants. He can run anything. And I think that's what he showed. He showed he was one of the best receivers in the game, and not just one of the best receivers in Seattle or in the division. He was one of the best receivers in the game, and he led the league in touchdowns that year. And it was just a beautiful thing. And, obviously still my brother to this day. But to see his career blossom and to see him grow up in the game and finally get the respect he deserves as a Pro Bowler in 2015 was man, it can't say enough positive things.
Richard, this next one, I know you've got a ton of respect for him. Odell Beckham Jr. You said early on, this kid is just different. He gets in and out of breaks quicker than you've seen pretty much anyone else.
Look, everybody remembers I remember the first time I played him, when he was a rookie, and nobody told me about him. Nobody gave me the heads up about what was going to be going on that day. And Odell Beckham Jr. came to Seattle with the New York Football Giants, and we're the Legion of Boom. I think that year we either went to the Super Bowl or won the Super Bowl, but we were established, and he was not established. And he came, and from the first snap, he had something on his mind. And it took me a second to realize what he had on his mind, but I caught on. Quick. And he had ran a double move. He ran a double move, a comeback and go. And I really didn't bite on the comeback because it didn't look like a comeback, But then he came out of that thing with a different kind of ferocity than I thought he was going to come out with. And Eli gave him a ball, and he caught it. And he really could have got out of there if Eli would have gave him a different ball. And I had to tag him down. And I said, whoa, all right, mental note, this kid is real. He's real. He's real. You got to put it in your notebook. Like, that's a time when nobody knew who Odell Beckham was. And everybody's like, oh, you getting beat by a rookie or nobody. And then he goes on to become the receiver, one of the best receivers
Stefan Diggs point
in the National Football League. Back to the point that this league is full of dogs. Like, everybody's a dog. You just don't know how big of a dog yet until you see him eat. And it was really cool to see his career blow up, obviously the one-hand catch and all that. But, that almost takes away from how dynamic he is. It's just the receiver.
A fun fact about Odell, the Detroit Lions took Eric Ebron over Odell Beckham Jr. and Aaron Donald. The next one.
I'm sure they're happy with that decision. That's the kind of Detroit decision that you can appreciate. It's just like having the two Hall of Famers, in their careers literally early.
Right. Because say, see ya. Thanks for the time.
Thanks for the time. And then the Detroit Lions are like, no, pay us back money.
Richard.
But that's a story for different.
One of these days, man. One of these days. All right, the next one, I know a good friend of yours, Bobby B-Wags Wagner. Talk about Bobby.
Bobby, one of the best to ever play, ever wear a jersey. Of course, to ever wear this jersey. There's not enough, you could say, there's not enough superlatives to give him the credit that he deserves. He was one of the best players on the team the year we won the Super Bowl. I think obviously everybody understands it now, but to come in as a rookie and, the year we won the Super Bowl was his second year, just like Russell. And take command of a defense full of big-time personalities and big-time superstars and be able to command the respect of those men takes a lot. And he did that, man. And he not only did it, but he played at a high level when he did it. And there's not enough positive things you can say. Obviously, his career is Hall of Fame, and he's going to the Los Angeles Rams and to make their defense a lot tougher to deal with. And people are going to see how valuable he was.
Richard, his draft class after your draft class was the cementing of your guy at the Seattle Seahawks. That's what made John Schneider probably the best GM in that 5-year window. Being able to go and grab Bobby Wagner in the second round, followed by Russell Wilson. He took a lot of heat for that. I think you guys had the lowest graded draft during that year by the bright minds of Mel Kiper and Todd McShay. But it goes to show you how good of a player he is. Next up, I know you have a ton of respect, Patrick Peterson, Pat P.
Another guy within my division, and we just elevated. We grew up together. We met at the combine with a lot of the other corners. He was, Peterson, Sherman. We were in the same group of runners, and it was really cool to meet him and get to talk and chop it up, and then to grow up together. We would go meet at Larry's softball game every year and get to chop it up and catch up. But it was really, it gave me somebody that could push me every year. And I'm sure he would say the same, I would hope, looking at each other's numbers and just wanting to be the best. He obviously had the punt return ability and got to the Pro Bowl rookie year. in second year and third year. And I was able to get the 8 interceptions and get the all pros, and he was get the all pros. And it was really like, it's always good to have that person to kind of gauge yourself against. Sure. and chase. And, during that time, it was him, it was Revis, and we're all fighting to be the best cornerback we could be. And I'm grateful for that, because it wakes you up in the morning and forces you to work harder and forces you to push yourself harder and forces you to be more detailed in your preparation because you want that spot.
Next one, overall fun guy, hype man. Fun fact about Gronk, you guys were in the Alberto Beef Jerky campaign together. You guys rode on the same freaking bicycle together and had a great time together. And then you ended up being teammates. Talk about Gronk.
Man, Gronk's one of the most fun-loving human beings that I've ever been around. Just a great spirit. Obviously a great all-time football player, one of the best to ever play. But it's just one of those guys that you just enjoy being around. You enjoy sharing the locker room with. He never takes things too serious, but is always there when you need a big play. And it's great. Yeah.
Next one, I know you've had a lot of battles with him as well. AB, Antonio Brown.
Antonio, man, what's crazy is we didn't have as many. We didn't have as many battles. That jersey, the day I got that jersey, we played him in Seattle. Was the one time we had that epic game and grinded out battle. But he's an all-timer, man. He's up there on the all-time active list of receiving yards with Quintoris and AJ and all those guys. And he's just an ultimate competitor. Like, even playing with him this year and being on his teammate, obviously everybody recognizes the incident, that what happened, but there's nobody that works harder. There's nobody that puts it on the line more. You talk about in practice, a guy does the extra, goes over and beyond every day. That's why you never hear anybody question his work ethic or question his commitment to football. You might question the commitment to football and some of the antics, but nobody questions how hard he works and the player he is. When he's locked in, there's not many that are better than him, even right now. And unfortunately, things have unfolded the way they have. That's a story for a different day. But man, it's just such an honor to be able to compete against him when he was at his best, and to watch him work in person, man, was outstanding.
Richard, these next two I know are two of your favorites, and I want you to talk about this one in particular. This is TB12, Tom Brady. Just talk about Tom. I mean, you guys have a ton of history going back to the You Mad Bro, and obviously him calling you last year and getting you to come and play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Talk about him. Talk about him early in your career. Talk about him late in your career. What does he mean to you?
Well, what's crazy is if I could talk about him early and talk about him late, his career still ain't ended. Like, good night. This man is the Grim Reaper that continues to reap. And but it's not enough positive things you can say. It's something about playing against him and competing against him and knowing what he's going to bring out of you and knowing what it's going to require to ever get him beat. And then there's something to be said about being his teammate and seeing him work every day, and to see how he treats the staff in the building, to see how he treats his teammates, to see how he treats the people who can do nothing for him. And that's really the true testament of a person. It's how you treat the people who can do nothing for you, the people who aren't benefiting from, they aren't doing favors for you. Mm-hmm. And that's who he was. That's who he truly was. He's a guy who did everything he could to help his teammates, outstanding teammates, never big time, never too busy for anybody. He treated the staff outstanding, and he prepared his butt off. He prepared his butt off. You get on the plane after a game, he's already studying the tape of the next team. He's watching the game he just played. He's preparing next week for the next week, and he's doing everything he can in practice. He's a perfectionist. He's one of those teammates that's once in a lifetime, once in a generation, and he's a once in a generation talent too. And so for those two things to combine, I mean, he gets all the praise in the world, and it's deservedly so, because he's the guy, from the 2000s. Yeah. Like, he's been doing it since 2000, and it's 2020, about to be 2023, and he's still doing it.
And he just got paid $375 million by Fox. So life sucks for him, apparently.
To do something he's not even doing yet. That's how you, the GOAT of the GOAT of the GOAT.
It's the GOAT.
It's the GOAT.
This one, I know the truest of gunslingers. I know you got a massive amount of respect for Aaron Rodgers. Talk about A-Rod.
Man, A-Rod, I've been watching A-Rod since he was at Cal, and he went 23 for 24.
Talk about how much these Packers jerseys suck, by the way.
Can we zoom in on a little bit?
Look at these things. I mean,
it's a lot different. You see how big those are? Like, we're going to compare them to, like, Brady and, like, it's just different materials. And then, like, it's, like, different than this, you know, but no offense to them. I just don't understand, you know, why they haven't upgraded. And then they're very stingy about them. But Aaron's wanted, like, a true gunslinger, Texas outback, like,
oh, yeah.
Like, and there has been nobody that I've ever been more concerned can get the ball anywhere. I mean, Mahomes kind of now, you know, but Aaron, I literally remember that there was a play, and it was Ty Montgomery was out wide to the right. He was the number one receiver to the right. It was three receivers, trips to the right, and Aaron got flushed left. He got flushed towards the sideline left, and we're about 50, maybe 55 yards down the field, and he's rolling left, like almost to the sideline, out darn near outside the numbers. Mm-hmm. And I start leaning in because I'm like, Ty's behind me, but I'm like, we're 55, 60 yards down the field. He's on the other side of the field. There's no way he's going to sling this 70 yards, and I'm not going to be able to get there. So I start leaning in, getting nosy, and he, like, glances back quick, and I'm like, there's no way he saw it. There's no way he's about to do this. And before I could blink, he just, like, casually flicks it. And I'm like, okay. No. And it was a dime. It was dime, probably 75 yards down the field. My God. I had to tackle him. I had to tackle Ty Montgomery. I had to tackle him before the ball got there. I take the PI. You're not getting the yards. But it just was like one of those moments where you're just like, bro, there's nowhere on this field that is safe when he has the ball in his hand. And he doesn't, it's effortless what he does. I mean, it looked like he just did this. And I mean, he has superpowers. He has different kind of superpowers. There's a reason he's a 4-time MVP. He's one of the most talented players you will ever play against. And good night. If you think, don't fall asleep on the backside or the front side, or if you think your receiver is getting away or you can't see him, he can't. Be close.
Next one, I know you got a lot of respect for Charles Woodson, Heisman Trophy winner, first defensive guy in a long time to do it, right? What does he mean to you in your career? I know you looked up to him quite a bit early on. Yeah,
man. I mean, he's a legend in every bit of the space. You know, I mean, his 65 interceptions, but he's a guy that was a consummate professional, a guy that you could try to model your game after, but never quite reached that. He could play anywhere on the field. He was just an impact player. He was an impact from the day he got into the league to the day he left with 5 interceptions, and I think he made the Pro Bowl that year. Yeah. And
switching positions,
doing
anything you had to help the team.
A true football player, and that's how you win the Heisman. I don't think there'll be another DB to win the Heisman because of how it is nowadays. But legend in every respect, and even, you know, trying to follow his footsteps in terms of the TV space now. And, you know, he's a guy that every young kid should watch his tape. You know, that's the tape you should be looking at if you're going to be a DB and want to make it to the National Football League. There's Dion, there's Charles Woodson, there's Rod Woodson. There's certain tapes. There's Revis that you got to watch. Champ Bailey, if you want to really know how to play the position the right way. And
ball hawk, playmaker.
He's the definition of it.
This next one, again, friend of the program, and we got dual jerseys here. Young Slay, and Old Slay.
No, not too old Slay.
Not old. Younger Slay and mature Slay.
Mature Slay. Man, Slay never gets enough credit. He gets a little bit more credit now that he's in Philly than he was in Detroit, and I don't know why. But
because he was in Detroit, Rich. You know?
I didn't say it.
I did.
Dearborn's only favorite son. But is it Dearborn or Deerfield?
No, Dearborn.
Okay. Deerfield is a place too.
It is. I think it's in like Connecticut, but and that's neither here nor there.
That's not here nor there. It's here and there. But outstanding football player, outstanding man, outstanding father. His kid is so like he was talking about his son, and his son's like 14 now or 15. Oh, yeah. I said, Slay, how's your son? 14, 15.
Slay's the ultimate family man. So he's got quite a few kids, but he's doing his thing in Philly right now. And that team, holy cow, they added a ton of pieces in the offseason. They added A.J. Brown. They got N'Kobe Dean, Jordan Davis. They just added Bradbury. Like that team might do something this year.
Right. It's going to come down to a quarterback. If Hurts can put it together, they have talent at receiver all over.
For the love of God, I want it for you, big play. I want it for you. Please, Philly, let's make the Super Bowl again. for my boy, for our boy,
for
the program, Big Play Slay.
Big Play Slay. He deserves it.
This one, Rich, this one's hilarious because I know you guys have had a hell of a lot of freaking history on Twitter mainly, but maybe not so much on the field. Talk about, first off, how the hell do you have a Darrelle Revis jersey? And just talk about him, his game.
Well, I mean, because like I said, it's been great. It's one of those things that TV and social media kind of, it's kind of like the Instagram model thing where it's like, oh, they're millionaires and taking trips to Dubai, and then you look up and they stay in a studio apartment in downtown somewhere that's $700 a month. But he's really a great football player, and there's really a tremendous amount of respect we have for one another's games. But that's the competitive nature of guys who are true alphas and truly believe every day you wake up that I'm the best to play at the time I'm playing. And it'd be wrong for him to think anything else. And I think when it comes down to respect of your peers and your rivals and guys that have pushed you to get better and pushed you to improve week in and week out and pushed you to elevate yourself week in and week out. I think we've always had that tremendous amount of respect for one another, and that's why we exchange jerseys. And we're going to probably do some things in the future because because we've helped one another. We've helped one another in our careers. Sure. Because that's what you need. You need somebody to push you. It's hard sometimes waking up and finding motivation, but if you can find that guy that they're like, oh, he might be better than you. He's playing better than you, or he did this week. He had 2 picks this week. What'd you do? And then you're like, hey, well,
he helped stoke that competitive fire for you, Rich. Yeah. I mean, you talked about Pat P being on that same tier, someone to look up to. Revis was that guy that helped continue to stoke that competitive fire for you.
The Richard Sherman podcast on PFF is brought to you by Super Draft Fantasy. They created a fantasy game for all of us. To all my PFF community, listen up. Player props are now available, and you can win up to 20 times your entry. Put your parlays together for all kinds of sports. I'm taking it to another level. I want to hook you up when you play. Double your deposit now. Get a $10 bonus when you deposit 10 using the code PFF at registration. Just download Super Draft and start playing now. They're even hooking you up with a free PFF Elite for a month or half of your annual subscription. Just download the Super Draft app on the App or Play Store. Use the code PFF when you create an account. Deposit $10, and we'll match it with another $10. The offer is only eligible for new accounts. Super Draft paid fantasy contests are available in 34 U.S. states. Must be 18 or older to play. Contests in most states. Visit superdraft.io for all eligibility restrictions.
Okay, welcome back to the Super Draft over-under prop bets. We're in person now, so I got my guy Mitch Eisenstein. He took another L last week. I actually don't know if he won or lost, but I'm just going to assume I won because, of course.
Richard, I'm going to start off this time because I feel like the assumptions, you know what they say, when you assume, you make an ass of you and me. I won last week, and I'm going to win again this week. Celtics, Jason Tatum over under 28.5 against the Heat tonight. Come on, Jason Tatum over. Easy money. He's going to go for 35 plus. Boston needs a win. They're without my boy Al Horford. Jay Tatum goes over. Jimmy Butler. You know what? Screw it. We're going to go over across the board. Jimmy Butler, 26.5 points. Over against the Celtics in the Heat's loss. Jaylen Brown, 23.5 points. Over under against the Heat. Jaylen Brown, over. Richard, comment on your losses.
This is why Mitchell loses. He's so ridiculous. Jason Tatum is going to struggle. The Heat defense has been outstanding. Over 28.5? No, thank you. Under. They'll have 21 points. Jimmy Butler, come on. He's been a scoring machine. He may drop another 40 piece on him. So over 26.5, I have to take it. Jaylen Brown, not a scoring machine. He's hot and cold. I expect him to beat Cole. This game, they're still fatigued from the game 7. Over 23.5? No. 21. Thank you guys for playing. And thank you, Mitchell, for losing because I needed the confidence boost. You guys want to play? Use the code PFF at registration for your first $5 contest free. No strings attached, no credit card required, no Mitchell required. And he's not always here to take these L's, but he's here for me.
Follow me on Twitter for all your over-under advice. I win, Richard loses. God bless and have a good rest of the day, guys. So we got a bunch of other jerseys we're going to show real quick and get through because there is way too many.
And these are not all of them. I still got Tony Gonzalez in the frame, Andre Johnson in the frame, Larry Fitzgerald in the frame. I got all of my Legion of Boom guys. I got Golden Tate. I got a bunch of guys, Mike Bennett, Cliff Averill, that aren't going to be on here, old teammates. I got all my Tampa Bay guys, a lot of my San Francisco guys. So they're not going to be all of them. These are just some of the ones that we could find. A young Thomas Davis, the senior. My old teammate, Johnson Batamosi. Jonathan Stewart. Kenny Britt, who gave me a ton of competition, a ton of problems when I was young. Martellus Bennett. Lance Briggs. Young Janoris Jenkins, one of the more talented players to play. Arian Foster, who started all this chaos of these jersey things. Young E-Man, the legend, my idol, before he dropped the one. Joe Hayden, the Florida legend. Marcus Peters, back in Baltimore now. Casey Hayward, after he left the Packers. My boy James Dodd, what up? Tree Floyd, come on now, I got them all. Boy Jonathan Martin, Stanford alum. Dwayne Bowe, another great competitor. I enjoyed that when I was young. My boy Jay Lang, old teammate Justin Forsett. Trey Waynes, when he was with
Michigan State's own. Come on, baby.
Michigan State's own money, Mike Davis.
A couple more Bradys for you here, Rich.
You know, I had to get the updated Bradys.
Yep.
Big play, Trey. My boy Jay White, now going to be one of the best safeties in the New York area. Check him out, jetting around. Preston Smith. I played with his dad. Now I play with his son. Antoine Winfield Jr.
I think Brady might play with his son, to be honest.
Okay, all right, Mitchell. All right, now. Young Hump. Robert Woods, we completed since our college days at SC when he gave me a long day. He gave me a long day one time. We're going to talk about that another day. Matt Stafford. We talked about him on this show. Mike, now teammates, or ex-teammates, but come on now. Had to get this. Robert Quinn when we were really young, and then he going to somehow get 17 sacks last year, going crazy. 2011 class. 2011. Yeah. 2011 draft class. Yeah, he was with us. My boy B.
Another former Lion great that casually left.
He casually left and went and got a Super Bowl. So, Dean, I hope you watch this, and I hope you know I would be roughing you up right now, Dean. My boy Butt. Got Carlton Davis in here somewhere. We couldn't get through all of them, but I got to get all my guys from the Bucks. You know, I got Godwin. I got the linebackers. I got the DBs. I got the D-line. I got some O-line. I couldn't get everybody.
What the hell do you plan on doing with all these jerseys, Rich?
That's a great question. Levante, I had to give him a jersey. Clearly, you know, he's one of the...
We got to figure out something to do with these jerseys. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I have a feeling this is going to be a wild episode to watch. A lot of history. Obviously, it speaks to you and who you are throughout your career, Rich. A lot of respect amongst your peers. It's been a hell of an episode, guys. It's been a hell of a season. We're going to take a little break, and then we're going to bounce back at it here soon.
And we're going to bounce back even stronger than ever. Going to have a different kind of man cave. His background going to look a little different. My energy is going to be a little different. We'll have different guests. Might have a different co-host every now and then, but we are not going to lose my guy, Mitch Eisenstein. That's for dang sure. And I know my boy Devin White's going to be mad because I didn't have his jersey in here. It's in there. It's packed away. We doing construction on a house. Hard to find all the jerseys. I know he's going to say something. I know he is. But I appreciate you guys for this season of the Richard Sherman podcast. It's season 2. Can't wait for season 3 to start. It's going to be even better than ever. Thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for being with me this whole time. Thank you for Super Draft for helping us out. And Thank you guys for all the love and respect and the comments. We really appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Keep the traffic.